So let us continue with the question or the challenge from Brother Ivor, where he says that can there be someone out there to present the evidence that Christ was born sometime way back then in eternity past, that Christ came forth from the Father sometime back then in eternity past? Now, this question carries an assumption, and the assumption is that there is a time that is called eternity past. And the other assumption that is there is that eternity is to be understood as a stretch of time stretching backwards, and that time being understood as the time that we live today. Now, I know that there are also some non-Trinitarian brothers who try to prove Christ's birth in eternity. And I believe that that is a huge error, as I will now demonstrate. In fact, the question itself is, at least to me, is very useless. It's as useless as the question, who created God? If someone asks the question, who created God? We would say God is uncreated. But we also include in that answer that the question of the origins of God is outside of our understanding as human beings. We have not been given the capacity to do that, neither have we been given the information to be able to explore the aspects of the existence of God beyond and outside the time that we understand. For that same reason, if somebody were to ask the question, was Christ created in some time in eternity past? The answer would be still along the same line, which is that Christ and his life and his existence is a matter that is outside of the realm of time as we know it. We cannot define or try to understand the existence of Christ and the aspects of it in terms of time as we know it now. And we would also include in that answer that outside of human existence, we cannot go. We cannot go into trying to understand time outside of what has been given to us as the present and the past and the future within time. Neither can we have our minds get into matters of eternity beyond the realm of human understanding. Pursuing such a thought, to me, is a sheer waste of time. Now, to clarify my point, let me ask some questions. What is eternity? Again, this is a point that I've made before. When you use words, when you use terms like this, you will need to understand what they mean, what is the meaning of it, and whether you can get that meaning from a study of the Bible and the concepts that are presented therein, or you can get that meaning from, the dictionary or from language, because language also gives us meaning. So what is eternity? Now, if you look into the Bible in Isaiah chapter 57, verse 15, it says, "For that says the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the holy and high place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to receive the spirit of the humble and to revive the hearts of the contrite ones." So God inhabits eternity. So then question, can the eternity that is inhabited by God, can it be past? Can we split eternity into past, present, and future and still have eternity? Or is eternity a realm that has got no meaning in as far as time is concerned, or that is not subject to the time as we understand it now? By the way, who created time? Because if God created time, then how can you use time to measure the existence of God? How can you use time to measure or to qualify that God becomes God or is qualified, his attributes are qualified because they have lived a certain, time? And if you're doing so, then are you not making God and the existence of God and the aspects of God's existence, are you not making that subject to the time and therefore making time the definer of who God is, and therefore time bigger than God. You know, you have to think outside of what a human being can do in order to do that. So if time was created by him, how then do you make his existence something that can be qualified by time? And why would you prove divinity by time? Hence making created the means for validating the creator. When did eternity past end? When you say that Christ was created somewhere then, Christ was created somewhere then in eternity past. When did that eternity past end? So we can say now that was eternity past. You know, did it end yesterday? I mean, I was born sometime in the past. Was I born in eternity? Did it end last year or 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago or at creation? When did eternity end? So we can say this is where eternity past begins. So maybe Christ was born in this region of time going backwards. You see, it doesn't make sense. So what comes after eternity past? Do you have eternity present and eternity future? And where do you draw the line that this is where eternity past is ended and this is where eternity present is and this is where eternity future will begin? It's a concept that doesn't make sense. This is the problem of trying to stretch the human mind into a realm which the human mind is no revelation whatsoever. Again, a question, by whose wisdom do you break time? I mean, do you break eternity into sections using time? Whose wisdom is that? Whose knowledge is that? Where did you get that? So again, this is about people not seeing where revelation requires them to stop, but rather trying to break through anyway by creating ideas they have absolutely no understanding of. So being born in eternity does not make Christ someone who at one point did not exist in time, because eternity is not about time as we know it today, as we exist in it today. Because the existence of Christ is not subject to time. Now, what worries me is how brethren spend so much time digging into these theories and these creative ideas of an understanding of eternity and the complexity of the existence of Christ in that eternity, as if it was ever necessary for our salvation, as if we were ever required to understand that Christ was born in some eternity, you know, for us to say now that he is Christ and now we can believe him and now we can be saved. This is the issue. This is the point that I would want the brethren and Brother Ivor Myers to consider. Now, here's a simple answer, a very simple answer, where we don't need to stretch our minds into something that's beyond what we've been given. With so much that we've been given in the Bible, which is very simple to understand. Okay, very simple. And we've been given that in multiple ways, in nature, in language, and even in revelation. The Bible teaches a principle, a law that exists, that applies without fail in nature and in everything, and even spiritually, that kind begets kind, right? So, here's Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. It reads, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person. So Christ is the brightness of God's glory. The glory that he is the brightness of belongs to God, and he is the express image of God. Now, question. If Christ is the express image of God's person, can he be anything other than fully divine if God is also fully divine? Or let me ask it this way. If God is divine, can the express image of his person be not fully divine as well? If it ceases to be fully divine as an express image of God, can it still be an express image of him? The answer is no. So the answer is right there. It's very simple. The entirety of Hebrews chapter 1 is talking about the divinity of Christ, and it very clearly defines what that is. And the author of the book of Hebrews and any other book in the Bible never had the need to go into all these Christ born in eternity kind of stuff in order to explain the divinity of Christ. Never explained that way. It's just explained in these simple terms that Christ is the Son of God. And his being the Son of God, he's God. He is the express image of God's person, and the express image of God's person is God. Just like the express image of a man is a man, cannot be anything else. Okay. So the bottom line is this: how and when Christ was born, that is pre-incarnation, is none of our business to consider, because we have no mental capacity to delve into matters of eternity and how it relates to time and how it can be split into pieces, into past, present, and future, and how God inhabits that eternity. If it is past and present and future, it doesn't make sense. It's a sheer waste of time, like I said before. What we're told, and this we're told over and over in the Bible, right from the New Testament, into the Old Testament, and also from the Old Testament to the New Testament, whichever way you like it, whichever way you want to start. We are told this simple thing: our salvation depends on believing that God gave a son, and that son is Christ, and that he is the Son of God, and not God the Son. We are never told about God the Son. We are told about the Son of God. And in John 20, verse 30, John tells us very clearly that the entire purpose of him writing the book of John was to prove that Christ is the Son of God, and that by believing that we might be saved. This is where salvation is: believing that the Son of God is the Son of God, and by being the Son of God is the express image of God, and therefore he is as God himself. Nothing there to do with persons being inside another person, nothing there with the Christ having been born or not born, eternity, no questions like that. There's no need for them. Our salvation has never been said by the Bible itself to depend on that he is a second person of the Godhead or Trinity. No, that he has his own divinity independent of the Father. No, that he existed for a long time without beginning. That's just tradition and the doctrines of men. And we know whose doctrines those are and whose traditions those are. So to me, the fact that he is the Son of God entails the sum total of the aspects of his existence pre and post-incarnation. And that is both in nature and character as he represents the Father. This is the bottom line to that question. So, to sum up, in the two presentations I've made, one about the term Godhead and the other one about the idea of, or the concept of eternity, I advise the brethren to stop making up things and claiming that things are in the Bible, and being more, having more fidelity to the definitions that are given to us from the Bible, and try not to change them and make them specialized definitions for something that they have only created themselves, which is a tradition of men that is not supposed to be so. And this is how I've come to understand Trinitarian thinking. That is, Trinitarian thinking finds no problem in creating new definitions and concepts which are not mentioned in the Bible. Yet the Trinitarian mind claims that the Bible contains such ideas, but they cannot be found there. What I've learned is that the Trinity doctrine is a way of thinking that people choose to have before they even approach the Bible. So they approach the Bible with a lot of assumptions, which they then build into, as we saw with the term Godhead. It is a way of accepting and justifying mental biases, a way of creating and seeing things which are not given. It is a way of using human mind where the human mind has no capacity to engage in any rational, objective, and even spiritual thought. That's the only way you can come up with the three persons in a person or three persons in a being. You are exceeding what a human mind can do and going into the realm of maybe something like mythology or fiction or something like that. In addition, many brethren who have dished the Trinity doctrine, even though they've moved away from the Trinity doctrine, They're still thinking according to the Trinity doctrine. They still have the thought process is still Trinitarian, which is why they may find it hard to demonstrate the error of the Trinitarian thought process. So this is my answer to Brother Ivor, and I hope he looks at it very carefully and considers the facts as they are presented in this. If you want to know more about our videos and our position and our writings or papers, please feel free to visit the sources that you see now on your screen. I will endeavor to post some related videos in the description below. Thank you so much for listening, and let us engage in this discussion in that usual Christian manner that we've all signed up to be a part of. Thank you, and may God richly bless all of you.